And welcome back, students. We are today going to be discussing arrays in C because, of course, arrays are a primitive type. So I've got an example here for us to start off, and then we're going to look at another one in a minute here. But here we have a integer array. So int value is 5, so we're going to take in 5 values. This is just pretty much a lot like how we do it kind of in Java. So then, of course, we enter 5 integers. We use a loop to fill the array. Here's a output of what the array elements are. So this just loops through each of the elements of the array, prints them out. All right, so nothing really too complicated. All right, it's very familiar to the process that we've done with Java, like I mentioned, because, okay, well, we're going to use a loop to fill the array in Java, and then we would use a loop to output the array in Java. And, of course, you'll see that it has familiar syntaxing that we're used to with the square brackets. So that is nice. Now, of course, you can use multidimensional arrays in C as well. So, of course, you can see you would have, for example, here's a two-dimensional array. So this is a 2 by 3. So you have 2 arrays with 3 elements each inside of them. All right, and of course there's other things, and here's some other examples to show how to implement those, how to do those various things. But the thing I want to kind of get to is that of strings, because if you remember in a previous video, I mentioned that strings are really just an array of characters, and we've kind of talked about this in the past, particularly like for example with Java, because how Java handles it is based around the C functionality that a string is not an object, it's a class. And so here, while strings aren't a class per se, because you don't have methods or functions that belong to them, because C doesn't have classes, C++ will, C#, Java, etc. But with just regular C, you can still create and manipulate string-like values. And how you're going to do that is with an array. So I'm just going to come down here, and let's do string demo. All right, so we're going to, instead of make an int, we're going to make a character array. All right, so I'm just going to call this string array, and let's just make it an array of 10. All right, and now remember with arrays, once you declare the size, it's fixed in its length. Okay, so the big thing, of course, with strings, it's just like how we learned it in Java. So each of those characters is kind of mapped out within the array to its own space. It starts off at position 0. Nothing that we have mind-blowing here other than what we are used to doing. Now, of course, scanf will read in a string. So we've already seen that. And printf kind of prints them out as a string. But when we actually start looking at those different things, how do we actually process them? So, for example, if we want to get a line of text, that could be very important. All right. So, of course, you can create a strings, with an array. So I could do an array of characters like this. So if I just said, let's do equals, and if you put it in as a regular string, so let's just say hello world. I don't know, that's probably too many characters. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I'll just make that 12 just so I know there's enough spaces in there. All right, so that would be my string, of course. Now, of course, if I want to print out that array, I could, of course, do just like I did in this demo here. And instead of printing off each of those values on a new line, I could just output instead of values here, it would be string array of I. So let's just go ahead and run this quick. All right, enter 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Displays those numbers. I got the memory address because I forgot to handle this appropriately. So we'd have to, of course, handle that, which we'll get to in a second here. So if we wanted a string in from the user, we can use scanf, which we already talked about. If I want to get a line of text, now this is the better way to handle strings is with fgets and puts. So I'm just going to kind of remove this out here real quick. All right, so fgets and puts are kind of more the way to handle those things. So I'm going to go ahead and put that char array back in. Let's just do this. So there's my star string array of 12. All right. And of course, then you can use fgets, and you'll pass in the name of the array, the size of it, and of course, the rest of those values. So if you look at this, and of course, puts just displays the string. So if I were to do this, I'm just going to copy this just to save us a little bit of time here. All right, so we use fgets, and instead of name, obviously we're using a string array. Okay, and then of course we have to use puts to actually output that. And if we look at our example, it's just going to be name, or in this case, string array. All right. Now, of course, last time we had name, colon, because they wanted to run that. But if I just run this program one more time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right, you can see nothing got displayed because I don't have any values actually in here. So this right here, if you notice, did not take an input. All right. So this is supposed to read. Oh, I have. Let's see. Fgets string array equals size of string array stdn. Do. Interesting. Just gonna put this in here just to see if we can break this program. Okay, so it didn't output this right here. You know, here's our puts. And return 0. And oh, we got an error. What do we do? Oh, right here. Forgot to put that quotation mark in there. That could be important. Okay, so it's just not hitting our puts right here. Not the end of the world. So I try to print just string array just as it is. It's probably going to give me the memory address. I didn't give me anything at the time. Okay. Let's just see if we can output even just an index value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Segmentation faults. Okay, cool. So we got it doing something now, which is really fun because here's our example. Fgets name, size of name. CO to H, yeah. CO in. String size of. If I hard code this. Comment that out. Still not putting it out. Okay, so my fgets is not working for some reason, but that should be how you do it. But at least we can use our puts now. So if I want to output the string, this is how we do it. So just puts. Again, I'm not sure why fgets is not working right now. I'm sure even if I were to copy their demo code, it probably wouldn't necessarily work here. And run. I have to return 0, so that's going to be causing some headache down the road. Enter name. Yeah, see, it didn't even process fgets here. So, yeah, not sure why that didn't process that. but that's okay. The important thing is here that we just kind of more know how to handle those strings. Again, the big thing with this, with the big takeaway, is just understanding how those arrays work. So if I have an integer array, very similar to how we've been handling in Java. If I have a character array, that's pretty much how we handle strings inside of C. The only thing is we can't just print it like we can with integers. We have to use the puts command. So little bit of nuance there, so I'm not going to worry about as much about this in terms of what you need to know. But I will be expecting you to at least understand how to use puts because that's very important in order to push a string out into the program. All right, and that should be enough for today, folks. We're almost through everything we need for C, and before you know it, we'll be done with C. And the next thing will be to move to the next unit where we actually get to classes, which is C++. Fun stuff. Here we go.